Vintage air conversion on a C2 Corvette. That's what's going on now at the Big Money Garage. This car is still is a project car, so there's a lot of things I still got to improve on it, but I didn't have a heater system at all for this car, so instead of buying the old original heater, I bought a vintage air conditioning and heater system for it, and it's a really tight fit. I've done a few things to make it a little bit easier and maybe not rattle, but things that the perfectionist would probably cringe about. But that box, evaporator box, when I put it in, it was right up against the brace, so I trimmed that brace out just a little bit so that it wouldn't rattle, and also make it a little bit easier putting it in and out. That's one thing I did. Another thing, they wanted you to hook up the heater hoses and AC lines with that box laying on the floorboard. Now that box was hard to get up in there by itself. I can only imagine how difficult it would be to try to put that up in there with the hoses hooked to it also. But I made an access panel to where I can hook the hoses up after this box is installed from the firewall side, and I'll show you that in a little while. But right now I'll show you how this thing works. At least I do have air. I don't have the air compressor hooked up yet. There's a back order on the lines and the condenser. Another thing was that windshield wiper arm rod was really close to the wiring. It just about rubbed it, and as much as I planned to drive this car, I didn't like that so much, so I made some bends on that rod. I bent it a little bit down there at that end, a little bit at this end, and that way it clears better. But I'll show you what I have. This is a nice kit. All the wiring is kind of self-contained. This purple wire will eventually go to the back of the ignition switch to give it power on and off. These two wires go to your battery. This goes to a ground, and from there the whole entire wiring system for this unit branches off of that. Very nice set. But anyway, let me show you how it works. That's your blower speed. And then this is your defrost or vents down low. And there's another knob over here that you add to this vent over here that will control the temperature, whether it's air conditioning or heater. Look how close that rod comes to the box and to the wiring harness. I like this better. It's a little, that will work better. That's an improvement that I think needs to be made. But that will help get it in and out easier. This is not a numbers matching car and never will be. So a few mods it's my car, so I'm doing it. But here's where the hoses come into the back side of the evaporator box. And like I said, the original plan calls for those to all be hooked up and then try to get that box to go up in that hole, and that seemed very difficult, not to mention the fact, how would you tighten up the hoses if they ever leaked? You'd have to take the whole box back out. So I cut this hole in this black panel that the Vintage Air kit provides. I cut a hole in it and made this aluminum plate, and that way I can hook up my hoses after installing the evaporator. I think that's a needed change. As I said, the air conditioning lines are on back order, but with that inspection cover here, I'll be able to hook up those hoses without removing the whole AC system when those lines do come in. If I had it to do over again, I think I'd do it to where I use this original Corvette access panel inspection cover from the rear wheel well. That's about the size I need, and it's already a made deal, but I didn't realize that until after I'd already cut this out, so that's an idea for the next one. But anyway, I'll hook up my heater hoses, and at least I'll have a heater and defroster until my other parts come in. This car's turning into a nice driver. I put the TKX 5-speed overdrive transmission in it, and kind of had to make my own shifter. This was before they some of the manufacturers had a lowered shifter, but I got a I've got it to where my shifter is completely sealed with the floorboard. There is no boot, it's all metal plate that I made. So the 5-speed makes the car get down the road a whole lot better, lower RPMs, better gas mileage. And now I have a sealed hole instead of having fumes and stuff come in the car. That's better, but now we'll get this air conditioning and heating hooked up. It'll make a good little road car instead of something that just sits around in a garage. I've been enjoying driving it a bunch. I'm glad to have it at this point to where at least my AC comes on. Now to finish buttoning it all up. It's not too bad of a job, but it's not very easy either, so I can't imagine doing it without the improvements that I've made. You know, I do a lot of things on my channel that are shade tree kind of backyard. I don't have the best facility or anything, but I get the job done, and I built quite a few cars right back here. Subscribe to my channel, and thanks for watching. Hopefully this will help you if you're considering putting a vintage air AC system in a 63 to 67 Corvette. It's not that bad of a job.